Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome back to my channel Rapid Revision. Today's video is from AS Level Accounting and this is from the chapter Incomplete Records. The question appeared in May-June 2024, paper 2 variant 2. The question here says, Zahid owns a small retail business. He has not maintained a full set of accounting records. Zahid supplied the following information for the year ended 31st December 2023. Their year starts on 1st January 2023. They're saying all sales were made on a cash basis. Cash sales total 195,000, which means total revenue here is 195,000. All goods were sold with a markup of 50%. So when markup is given, we assume cost is 100%. So let's say something we bought for $100 and we have basically put like kept a profit of $50 on that, gross profit of $50, and then we are selling it for $150. So that is how markup is. Basically markup is profit on cost. So when you decide to keep a profit on cost, so you basically assume that cost of sales is 100%. So I always tell my students cost of sales is basically 100%. In that case, revenue will be selling price, or revenue will be that is cost, which is 100, plus markup, which is 50. So that will be 150%. And gross profit in this case will be 50%. So that is how markup is. Basically that is what you do when you have been given a markup. When you are given a markup, you assume cost of sales is 100%. So now what you're going to do here is that in the first part they're saying calculate the gross profit of the business for the year ended 31st December 2023, which is pretty simple. You can do it through cross multiplication. So 195,000 is my revenue, which is 150%. So 195,000 is 150%. So I'm going to write here what is 50%. X is 50%. When I cross multiply, so basically I'm writing 50% here because I need to find out gross profit. But if I need to find out cost of sales, I will basically write 195,000 is 150%, X is 100%, and then I'll find out my cost of sales. So when I cross multiply, I get the value for X as 65,000. So this is basically my gross profit, which is pretty simple. In the next part, they're saying, okay, the next part of the question says, additional information. The following information is also available. They've given you inventory at start, inventory at end, which is inventory at 1st January 2023, inventory at 31st December 2023, and then they've given you trade payables at start, trade payables at end, and then they're saying all purchases were made on credit. Trade suppliers were paid 134,240 after deducting cash discounts totaling $560. So basically when we receive a cash discount is when when we pay within the time frame that is specified by the suppliers. So if we pay them within the time frame specified by the suppliers, they will give us a cash discount, which in this case will be discount received. So discount received in this case is 560, and basically this information is given to us to calculate credit purchases. So when we calculate credit purchases, we'll be using this information, which is the next part of the question. Then they're saying Zahid took goods for his own use during the year. However, no record was made of the value of these goods. This is drawings of goods. So drawings of the goods in this case uh, is basically the part 2 of part B. So when you'll calculate purchases first, and then we will calculate drawings of goods. So to calculate purchases, credit purchases, they've made credit purchases only. There is no cash purchases in this question. So you need to make a purchases ledger control account. So I'll make a T account here, and the name of this T account is basically purchases ledger control account. And this purchases ledger control account, you all know, is a total trade payable account. So total trade payables. If you know what this is, total trade payables are your liabilities in accounting. And if you know that, it is very easy to make this account. So liabilities have a balance brought down on the credit side. So I'm going to write here balance brought down, and I'm going to write here trade payables at start, which is 13,500. I'll write here 13,500. This will be January 1, 2023. And then I'm going to write my balance carried down here, December 31, 2023, balance carried down. And this will be my trade payables at end, which is 15,600. So I'm going to write here 15,600. During the year, what I have paid to my trade payables is 134,240, which I'm going to record on the debit side. So to remember this, it's pretty simple. How do you remember this? So you guys need to know the double entry. So whenever we are paying our suppliers, trade payables account is debited, liability is reduced, and my bank account is credited. So that is why you guys already know that if one account is being debited, the other account will be credited. In accounting, there is double entry. If one account is debited, the other account is credited. So bank account is credited in this case. So the trade payable account needs to be debited 134,240, and then I'm going to write here discount received. So discount received is basically in this case $560. So if you guys know the format of the purchase ledger control account, you would know that discount received is part of the purchase ledger control account, and you actually write this on the debit side of the purchase ledger control account. What happens is that when you pay your suppliers and they give you a discount, the double entry is trade payable account debit, discount received account credit, because discount received is an income. And discount received also, let's say if we are supposed to pay them 100 but we pay them 90, so we are basically settling off a debt of 100 by paying them 90. So the debt that we are settling is of $100. So that is why we need to record the discount received also in this T account, because we are receiving a discount in this case, and this is an income in accounting, and we'll record this as an income in our income statement, which is one of the parts of this question. When I total this account, so when I total this account on both sides, I'll get 150,400 on both sides, 150,400, and this balance carried down will become my balance brought down. Balance brought down on 1st January 1, 2024. So if you guys don't want to make the purchase ledger control account, it's not the requirement of the question to make a purchase ledger control account only. Basically, the command word says calculate. So calculation can be a calculation. It is not necessarily a T account. So you can also calculate by, simply just adding these three values. So what I did here was that I added the value for bank, discount received, balance carried down, and then I subtracted. I haven't calculated the purchases yet. So the purchases here will be purchases. So I'm going to write here purchases, and this is my credit purchases. I did not calculate it before. So this is going to be 136,900. So 136,900, how do you get it? You basically add 134,240 plus 560 plus 15,600 minus 13,500, which gives you 136,900. This is basically your credit purchases. And credit purchases, whenever you're purchasing goods from your trade payables, your liability towards them increases, so that comes on the credit side of the purchase ledger control account. And since this is a liability account, so you guys can also show it as a calculation, not a T account. It's completely fine. But if they require you to calculate purchases through the purchase ledger control account, then you can't show calculations. You have to make the purchase ledger control account. Okay, in part two of this particular question, they are saying calculate drawings of goods, the value of goods taken for own use by Zahid. So goods taken for own use, there's a particular formula in which you actually, there is one of the values is drawings of goods. So this is basically called the cost of sales formula, and cost of sales formula is basically part of the income statement. So cost of sales is basically opening inventory. So opening inventory, add purchases. You add carriage inwards, but you don't have it in this question. You subtract purchases returns, but you don't have it in this question. So you write here less drawings. So I'm going to write here less drawings of goods. And there's only drawings of goods in the formula for cost of sales. There's no drawings for cash. And then you write less closing inventory. Less closing inventory will give you cost of sales. So cost of sales is basically known in this question. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what cost of sales here is. So I know my gross profit is 65,000 and my total revenue is 195,000. So 195,000 minus 65,000 will give me 130,000. So this basically 130,000 is my cost of sales. Closing inventory in this case is 22,400. So this is basically subtracted in my calculation. Okay, it's not 22,400, it's 22,460. So I'm going to correct this, 22,460. I don't know what drawings of goods is, so I'm going to write here X, which is also subtracted in this case. But so I know my purchases, which I calculated in the part like in the previous part. So this will be 136,900 which is my purchases, and opening inventory in this case is 16,400. So I'm going to write here 16,400. And when I calculate the value for X here, so how do you calculate the value for X? You basically do 16,400 plus 136,900 minus 22,460, which will give you 130. Basically, when I do this calculation, I get 130,840. And then what I do is that I'm going to basically isolate X like I do in math. So basically make X the subject of the formula. So if you make drawings of goods the subject of the formula, you will get the answer over here, which is 840, which is my drawings of goods in this case. So X is equal to drawings of goods basically is 840. So I'm going to write my final answer here, drawings of goods is equal to 840. So this is basically how I calculated my drawings of goods. And then in the next part they are saying the following information is available for Zahid's business. They've given you more information here, non-current assets. They've given you the non-current assets had the following values. They've given you 1st January 2023 value, which is 194,000. They've given you 31st December 2023 value, which is 188,000. And I'm going to tell you this is net book value. Net book value at start and net book value at end, because I know from the question, because if you read the next two lines, that is during the year ended 31st December 2023, a non-current asset was sold for 5,600. So selling price for the old non-current asset which they have disposed of was 5,600. Then they are saying resulting in a profit on disposal of 2,400. So they have got a profit on disposal of 2,400. Additional non-current assets were purchased for 9,200. So they have not mentioned cost or method of depreciation or policies or anything over here. So that means these are basically net book values. So to basically calculate depreciation for this year, I need to use the net book value formula for depreciation, which is opening net book value of non-current assets plus purchase of non-current asset minus disposal of non-current asset minus closing net book value of non-current asset is equal to depreciation. So this is basically my formula for नेट बुक वैल्यू फार्मूला फॉर डेप्रिसिएशन. अच्छा, इसको रट्टा नहीं लगाना, सही है. वाई यू डोंट नीड टू रोट लर्न दिस. व्हाट यू डू इज दैट इसको इस तरह से सोचें कि शुरू में हमारे पास कुछ नॉन करंट एसेट्स की कुछ नेट बुक वैल्यू थी. जब आप परचेज करते हैं नॉन करंट एसेट्स तो आपकी नेट बुक वैल्यू बढ़ जाती है. जब आप डिस्पोज ऑफ करते हैं तो नेट बुक वैल्यू जो एसेट्स की है वो कम हो जाती है. फिर इसी तरह उसमें से आप डेप्रिसिएशन माइनस करते हैं तो आपको क्लोजिंग नेट बुक वैल्यू मिलती है, राइट. तो क्योंकि डेप्रिसिएशन बेसिकली आपकी नेट बुक वैल्यू को कम कर देती है, तो डेप्रिसिएशन माइनस करते हैं तो क्लोजिंग नेट बुक वैल्यू मिलती है. तो मैंने एक्चुअली वही फार्मूला को बेसिकली इसमें मैंने सब्जेक्ट ऑफ द फार्मूला बनाया है डेप्रिसिएशन को, ठीक है. सो व्हाट आई डिड वाज ओपनिंग नेट बुक वैल्यू ऑफ नॉन करंट एसेट्स प्लस परचेज ऑफ नॉन करंट एसेट्स माइनस सेल ऑफ नॉन करंट एसेट्स माइनस डेप्रिसिएशन इज इक्वल टू क्लोजिंग नेट बुक वैल्यू ऑफ नॉन करंट एसेट्स. बट व्हाट आई डिड वाज दैट मैंने डेप्रिसिएशन को सब्जेक्ट ऑफ द फार्मूला बना दिया, सही है. तो मुझे ये नहीं पता कि नेट बुक वैल्यू कितनी है फॉर माई एसेट विच आई हैव डिस्पोज्ड ऑफ. सो the asset which I have disposed of, I have disposed it off at 5,600, which is my selling price. But what happens is that profit कब होता है, मुझे profit हुआ ना. प्रॉफिट तब होता है जब आपकी सेलिंग प्राइस जो होती है वो ज़्यादा होती है अपनी नेट बुक वैल्यू से. सो नेट बुक वैल्यू इज़ योर एस्टिमेटेड वैल्यू कि that this is my estimation that this is the value of my non-current asset. But if you end up with more money than the net book value, so that means it's a profit. So they have ended up with more money. So 5,600 is basically 2,400 more than the net book value. So 5,600 is 2,400 more than the net book value. So that means if you do 5,600 minus 2,400, you will get 3,200, which is my net book value in this case. So net book value was 3,200 और मैंने इसको बेचा 5,600 का. So when you're applying the net book value formula for depreciation, you need to take all the values as net book value. So opening net book value here is 194,000 plus purchase of non-current assets. यहाँ पे पहले साल में for the first time when you have purchased a non-current asset, the net book value is exactly the same as cost. क्योंकि पहली दफ़ा आप उसको ख़रीद रहे हैं, अभी तक आपने उसको depreciate करना शुरू नहीं किया है. जब आप उसको ख़रीदते हैं तो उस वक्त net book value is the same as cost because you haven't depreciated it as yet. Okay. Minus disposal of non-current assets, you will take a net book value here. 3200 नेट बुक वैल्यू माइनस करेंगे, क्योंकि ये फॉर्मूला में सारी चीज़ें नेट बुक वैल्यू है, सो यू नीड टू टेक नेट बुक वैल्यू फॉर ऑल वैल्यूज. Minus closing net book value of the non-current assets is 188,000, and then you're going to get depreciation. So depreciation in this case will be 12,000. When you calculate, you'll get 12,000 as your answer. Okay, that is depreciation, and then profit on disposal here is 2400, which is clearly mentioned in the question. Then they're saying income from rent receivable. They've given you information for opening start of the year. They've given you information for the end of the year. They've given you receipts for during the year जो आपने पैसे receive किए हैं for rent received. So looks like I need to make T accounts, or I need to adjust for owing and prepaid, for rent received, and for all the other expenses. So this is going to be pretty simple, but it requires a bit of calculation. तो यहाँ पे हम करेंगे, जब मैं rent receive का account बनाऊंगी तो मैं एक छोटा सा T account बनाऊंगी, because I'm just making it in workings. I'm going to write here rent received on top, rent received, and this rent received account. So it starts with an owing at start ना, तो यहाँ पे OPPO का रूल लगता है, क्योंकि इनकम्स पे OPPO लगता है. Owing at start means कि I have given the service टू माई टेनेंट, लेकिन उसने मुझे पूरे पैसे नहीं दिए. तो लास्ट ईयर जो है वो मैंने सर्विस पूरी दे दी थी, लेकिन उसने मुझे जो है वो 280 नहीं दिए. तो दिस इज माई एसेट, दिस इज माई करंट एसेट. तो मैं यहाँ पे ब्रॉड डाउन लिखूंगी $280. During the year, what I have received from my tenant is 5360. So बैंक अकाउंट, when बैंक अकाउंट is debited, इसको रेंट रिसीव के अकाउंट में क्रेडिट करेंगे 5360. and then in the end they are saying received in advance 600. तो एडवांस जो एंड में होता है 31 दिसंबर के दिन जो आपने रिसीव किया होता है इन द एंड, वो जो है उसका कैरेट डाउन, बेसिकली वो कैरेट डाउन है और वो डेबिट साइड पे आएगा इन दिस टी अकाउंट. सो दिस विल बी 600. and now I'm going to calculate my statement of profit and loss. So statement of profit and loss, I'm going to write here SOPL, but you guys know that ये working है, इसलिए मैं short forms use कर सकती हूँ. लेकिन अगर मुझे properly कुछ बनाना होगा तो मैं उसको when it's a part of the question, like prepare this T account, or prepare the income statement, you don't write short forms. ठीक है, उसमें फिर examiners marks deduct कर देते हैं आपके. This is going to be 4480 in this case, which is my statement of profit and loss. ठीक है, for rent received. अच्छा, फिर मेरे पास एडवर्टाइजिंग है, जनरल एक्सपेंसेस है, इंश्योरेंस है और वेजेस है. 4 एक्सपेंसेस हैं जिनको मुझे एडजस्ट करना है फॉर प्रीपेड एंड ओइंग. तो डोंट वरी अबाउट इट, यू नीड टू मेक द टी अकाउंट फॉर लेट्स से एडवर्टाइजिंग. यहाँ पे एडवर्टाइजिंग का एक टी अकाउंट बना देती हूँ, ग्रीन पेन से यहाँ पे लिख देती हूँ एडवर्टाइजिंग. एंड एडवर्टाइजिंग में देयर इज अ बैलेंस ब्रॉट डाउन ऑन द डेबिट साइड. एडवर्टाइजिंग का रूल क्या होगा, POOP. POOP means that prepaid brought down will come on the debit side. Prepaid brought down means कि last year मैंने कुछ extra pay कर दिया था advertising के लिए for 2023. So that means it's my current asset. So that is why it's coming on the debit side. Advertising का owing है end में. तो मतलब मैंने during the year service ले ली है लेकिन पैसे नहीं दिए, 610. So this is going to come here on the debit side, 610 carried down as my owing carried down, or my balance carried down for it's called accrued and owing is the same thing. While balance carried down for advertising will come on the debit side. जो हमने पे किया है during the year, यहाँ लिखेंगे बैंक, और यहाँ लिखेंगे हम 5960. 5960 लिखेंगे जो हमने पे किया ड्यूरिंग द ईयर फॉर एडवर्टाइजिंग. बैंक में क्रेडिट होगा तो यहाँ एडवर्टाइजिंग अकाउंट में डेबिट होगा. यहाँ लिखेंगे हम स्टेटमेंट ऑफ प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस, एंड दिस इज गोइंग टू बी, द वैल्यू इज गोइंग टू बी 7060 फॉर एडवर्टाइजिंग. ठीक है. अच्छा, इसके बाद यू नीड टू मेक अ टी अकाउंट फॉर जनरल एक्सपेंसेस. ठीक है, जनरल एक्सपेंसेस का टी अकाउंट में रेड से बना रही हूँ. यहाँ जनरल एक्सपेंसेस में देयर इज सेम रूल, POOP. यहाँ टॉप पे लिख देते हैं जनरल एक्सपेंसेस, और POOP मीन्स के ओइंग ब्रॉट डाउन. सो देयर इज एन ओइंग ब्रॉट डाउन स्टार्ट. शुरू में हमने लास्ट ईयर हमने कुछ जनरल एक्सपेंसेस की सर्विस ली होगी लेकिन पैसे नहीं दिए थे, तो इट्स माय करंट लाइबिलिटी. तो मैं यहाँ लिख देती हूँ बैलेंस ब्रॉट डाउन, और यहाँ मैं लिख दूंगी 560 जो कि मेरा ओइंग है शुरू में. ड्यूरिंग द ईयर मैंने पे कितना किया है, तो मैंने अगर बैंक में क्रेडिट किया था तो जनरल एक्सपेंसेस अकाउंट में मैं डेबिट करूँगी, 8480 लिखूँगी, and there is no carried down for this account, no problem. Then I'm going to write here statement of profit and loss, and this is going to be, the amount is going to be 7910. 7910 मैंने कैसे कैलकुलेट किया, 8480 माइनस 570, ठीक है। तो कोई भी मिसिंग वैल्यू कैलकुलेट करने के लिए टी अकाउंट में आपको टोटल ऑफ हैवी साइड करना होता है माइनस टोटल ऑफ लाइट साइड। सो इन दिस केस हैवी साइड वाज द डेबिट साइड, उसका टोटल था 8480 माइनस 570 किया तो मुझे मिल गया 7910, ठीक है। अच्छा, इसके बाद मुझे इंश्योरेंस का अकाउंट बनाना है, तो मैं यहाँ पे छोटा सा इंश्योरेंस का अकाउंट बना देती हूँ। एंड यू नो इंश्योरेंस इज ऑल्सो एन एक्सपेंस। इंश्योरेंस का भी रूल POOP है, इसका बैलेंस ब्रॉट डाउन यहाँ आएगा क्योंकि शुरू में प्रीपेड है, यहाँ लिख देंगे 330। फिर हमारे यहाँ पे बैलेंस कैरेड डाउन आएगा जिसे यहाँ पे हम लिख देंगे 390, एंड देन द मनी पेड ड्यूरिंग द ईयर फॉर इंश्योरेंस बैंक वैल्यू कम्स हियर which is 4510, and then statement of profit and loss. So statement of profit and loss यहाँ पे आएगा, कितना आएगा, 4450. दिस इज फॉर इंश्योरेंस, 4450 हमने कैलकुलेट कर लिया फॉर इंश्योरेंस विच इज़ माई स्टेटमेंट ऑफ प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस वैल्यू। इसके बाद हम एक वेजेस का अकाउंट बनाएंगे। वेजेस का अकाउंट ब्लू से बना लेते हैं, यहाँ पे छोटा सा वेजेस का अकाउंट, एंड देन आई नीड टू शो दीज वर्किंग बिकॉज ऑब्वियसली द एग्जामिनर वांट्स टू सी द वर्किंग्स, तो उसके मार्क्स देगा वो आपको, ठीक है। तो देयर इज नो ब्रॉट डाउन इन द वेजेस अकाउंट, तो कोई बात नहीं। मनी ड्यूरिंग पेड ड्यूरिंग द ईयर फॉर वेजेस इज 12,400, यहाँ लिख देती हूँ 12,400, एंड बैलेंस कैरिड डाउन फॉर दिस टी अकाउंट अक्रूड एट एंड इज 470, यहाँ पे लिख दूंगी 470। 470 प्लस 12,400 इज गोइंग टू बी स्टेटमेंट ऑफ प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस, यहाँ पे आ जाएगा, एंड दिस विल बी 12,870। ये हमारी वेजेस के लिए हमने इनकर किया है ड्यूरिंग द ईयर 2023, जो कि हम स्टेटमेंट ऑफ प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस में 12,870 लिखेंगे, एंड देन वी आर गोइंग टू मेक आवर इनकम स्टेटमेंट, स्टेटमेंट ऑफ प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस एक्सट्रैक्ट। इनकम स्टेटमेंट पुराना नाम है, स्टेटमेंट ऑफ प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस नया नाम है। तो इनकम ये जो बेसिकली स्टेटमेंट ऑफ प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस हमें ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट से शुरू करना है। तो ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट इस केस में हमारे पास था 65,000, हमने कैलकुलेट किया था, सही 65,000 हमने कैलकुलेट किया था। इसके बाद जो है आई मेक अ लाइन हियर सो दैट आई कैन राइट माई इनकम्स इन द फर्स्ट कॉलम, इनकम की इंडिविजुअल वैल्यूज इन द फर्स्ट कॉलम एंड देन टोटल इन द सेकेंड कॉलम। सो बेसिकली ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट के बाद हम करते हैं ऐड इनकम्स, तो यहाँ मैं लिखूंगी ऐड इनकम्स एंड आई एम गोइंग टू अंडरलाइन दिस, आई एम गोइंग टू राइट हियर प्रॉफिट ऑन डिस्पोजल। प्रॉफिट ऑन डिस्पोजल मुझे याद है 2400 था इस सवाल में, ठीक है। फिर हमारे पास एक और इनकम थी डिस्काउंट रिसीव्ड, सो डिस्काउंट रिसीव्ड हियर इज गोइंग टू बी $560, जो कि हमारे सवाल में से ही हमें मिला है, $560 जो हमने परचेज लेजर कंट्रोल अकाउंट में भी लिखा था। एंड देन देयर इज रेंट रिसीव्ड, सो आई एम गोइंग टू राइट हियर रेंट रिसीव्ड, and rent received, we have calculated rent received statement of profit and loss 4480, so I'm going to write here 4480, and that's it for the income। और कोई इनकम नहीं है इस क्वेश्चन में। जब हम इन सबको ऐड करेंगे तो हमारे पास आ जाएगा 7440। दिस इज माय टोटल ऑफ इनकम्स, 65,000 plus 7440 will be 72440. This is my gross profit after incomes. Then I'm going to write here less expenses. Now I have quite a few expenses. I have advertising, जो मैंने अभी adjust किया था for owing and prepaid. I'm going to write here 7060. Then I have general expenses. So general expenses को भी हमने adjust किया है थोड़ी देर पहले. This is going to be 7910. जो adjusted value है statement of profit and loss वाली, वही मैं ले रही हूँ इधर. तो advertising की ले ली, insurance general expenses की ले ली, फिर हम लिखेंगे insurance. इंश्योरेंस के लिए हम यहाँ लेंगे 4450, so I'm going to write here 4450, and then for wages I'm going to write here 12,870. मैंने 12,870 कैलकुलेट किया है वेजेस के टी अकाउंट से, एंड देन मैंने, आपको याद होगा, डेप्रिसिएशन ऑन नॉन करंट एसेट्स आई कैलकुलेटेड थ्रू the net book value formula. So depreciation on non-current assets. So I'm going to write the whole thing because I don't want my students to write short forms please. I'm going to write here depreciation on non-current assets, which is 12,000, and then now when I'm totaling this, the total will come out to be $44,290. $44,290. And now when I subtract the both the values, so 72,440 minus 28,150 is going to give me, no sorry, 72,440 minus 44,290 is going to give me 28,150. This is my profit for the year. ये मेरा profit for the year, यहाँ लिख देती हूँ profit for the year. And that's it for a 12 mark, like this 12 mark. You get 12 mark for this income statement. And then they're saying, explain with reference to an accounting concept why Zahid made adjustments to his income and expenses when preparing the statement of profit and loss. This, when you prepare the statement of profit and loss, you basically apply the accruals and matching principle. सही है, हम accruals and matching principle apply करते हुए income statement बनाते हैं. And income statement is based on accruals principle, not on cash principle. So what you have paid for expenses and what you have received for incomes is irrelevant. सही, इनकम वो रिकॉर्ड होती है जितनी सर्विस आपने दी होती है, और एक्सपेंसेस वो रिकॉर्ड होते हैं जितनी सर्विस आपने इस्तेमाल की होती है. तो इधर मैंने लिखा है द अक्रूल्स और मैचिंग प्रिंसिपल सेज दैट रेवेन्यूज ऑफ वन पीरियड शुड बी मैच्ड अगेंस्ट द कॉस्ट ऑफ द सेम पीरियड. सो एक पीरियड की कॉस्ट ही रिकॉर्ड होगी. अगर हमने कुछ एक्स्ट्रा पे कर दिया फॉर नेक्स्ट ईयर, दैट विल नॉट बी रिकॉर्डेड इन द करंट ईयर्स इनकम स्टेटमेंट बिकॉज वी हैवंट यूज्ड इट एज येट. सो ये वो प्रीपेड एक्सपेंस हो जाता है, वो हमारा करंट एसेट है. ठीक है. Expenses and incomes are recorded according to the service used up and the service given, not according to the amount paid or received. If Zahid has paid extra for next year, it won't be included in the current year's expense and it won't be included in the current year's statement of profit and loss. ठीक है. And in the next part, this is interesting because इसमें इन्होंने काफ़ी अच्छे options दिए आपको और आसान सवाल है. Zahid plans to expand his business. This would mean he would no longer operate as a sole trader. He's considering the following options. Option A ये है that he forms a partnership with Talha, who currently owns a similar business. Okay. Option B is that he forms a limited liability company with himself and Talha as shareholders and directors. Okay. Now they're saying advise Zahid which option he should choose. Justify your answer by considering both advantages and disadvantages of each option. So you need to analyze both the options. पहले पैराग्राफ में आप पहले ऑप्शन को एनालाइज कर दें, दूसरे पैराग्राफ में आप दूसरे ऑप्शन को एनालाइज कर दें, फिर अपनी रिकमेंडेशन दे दें. So what I have written for you guys, if Zahid forms a partnership with Talha, the partnership will have more capital because Talha will bring additional capital. ठीक है, Talha additional capital लाएगा. Also Talha will bring his expertise and skills, so that will also benefit the partnership business क्योंकि obviously both of them will bring their expertise and skills. However, Talha and Zahid can disagree on matters and because that decision making may slow down. Disagreement की वजह से जो है decisions फौरन नहीं ले सकते. The partnership business will have unlimited liability, which means if the partnership goes out of business, the owners might have to sell their personal possessions in order to pay off the liabilities. क्योंकि partnerships have unlimited liability. क्योंकि partnerships और sole trader के केस में अगर bankruptcy होती है और business जो है वो loss में चला जाता है, so the owners have to sell their personal possessions in order to pay off their liabilities. Then in the next part of the same answer, you will analyze the second option. If Zahid chooses option B, he may have an option of selling the shares to more people. क्योंकि अभी तो तलहा और जाहिद है सिर्फ, फिर बाद में more people can also invest in their limited company. तो उसकी वजह से they can raise even more capital. So expansion जो है वो बहुत आसानी से हो सकता है अगर limited company होती है. Also limited company have limited liability. तो owner को जो है they only lose up to what they have invested. They don't lose their personal possessions in case of a loss or bankruptcy. ठीक है. However, the limited company needs to prepare their financial statements and make them available for the general public. If it's a public limited company, they have to show the financial statements to the general public. तो उसमें बहुत ज़्यादा disclosure of information होती है. अगर उनकी private limited company है, so they have to show their financial statements to their friends and family जिन्होंने invest किया है, and potential investors को भी. तो you need to disclose the information. That is the thing. And they have to get their financial statements checked by an external auditor जो कि third party होती है, जो कि आपकी financial statements check करके they sign that the financial statements have this company has basically applied all the accounting policies and rules. So in the end, I recommend Zahid to form a partnership. Kyunki it's like Zahid being a sole trader, it's one step up if he becomes if he becomes a partnership business. And if he becomes a limited liability business, तो फिर उसमें जो है वो setup costs ज़्यादा होती हैं. अगर वो जो है वो अभी sole trader है तो वो partnership बन जाएगा. तो इट्स लाइक उसमें सेटअप कॉस्ट नहीं है, लेकिन दे हैव टू ड्रॉ अ पार्टनरशिप अग्रीमेंट अगर वो पार्टनरशिप फॉर्म कर लेते हैं. लेकिन अगर लिमिटेड लाइबिलिटी कंपनी बनते हैं तो फिर लिमिटेड कंपनीज की जो फॉर्मेशन कॉस्ट होती हैं वो बहुत हाई होती हैं. So that means, Talha and Zahid will have to also pay for that cost of forming limited company if they choose to form a limited company. But I have just given my recommendation, जो कि आपको भी सिर्फ recommendation देनी है. You don't need to justify your recommendation. That's it for this question. Thank you so much for watching. Hope this helps you guys.